This is the CDI coding sheet for TCIT free play interactions between students and teachers. Just like in standard DPICS, the top half has talk, behavior description, reflection, label praise, and unlabeled praise. Just like in standard DPICS, those categories are tallied using little tally marks and hash marks for each verbalization that the teacher gives. Unlike standard DPICS, there's also a false pride category. That is for when a teacher gives a pride skill, although attention should not have been given. So for example, a child's running around the room and the teacher says, "Thanks for staying in your seat." That would be counted as a false pride because that praise was given not for positive behavior, but for negative. Likewise, if a child interrupts and the teacher reflects, that would be counted as a false pride because the teacher should have ignored that. Down in the avoid section, there's some differences from standard PCIT, and that is that the question category is divided into teaching questions and avoid questions. Teaching questions center around the curriculum, such as what color is this, or what day comes after Monday in the week. Avoid questions are our more standard questions that we are familiar with in DPICS and typically include questions around behavior, such as what are you doing, where are you going, what are you going to color next? Negative talk is the same as in DPICS, and the command categories are broken into no opportunity to comply commands, or NOC in the shorter abbreviation, and compliable commands, CC in shorter abbreviations. Compliable commands are of course encouraged or allowable by teachers, things such as sit down. No opportunity to comply commands are things like watch out, be careful, or when we get back inside, you'll have to hang that up. They are the commands that in standard DPICS will get checked off as no opportunity to comply after the command. When we're graphing the skills, we're going to take behavior descriptions, reflections, and label praises, each of these three boxes, and graph that on the pride skill portion of the graph. And the avoid skills will be tallied such that these middle three, the avoid questions, negative talk, and no opportunity to comply commands, will each be added up to give a total avoid score, and that will be graphed. This section below it is for capturing when a teacher ignores, uses an I statement, or misses an opportunity to ignore a child misbehavior. So IG is ignore, IS is I statement, and MO is missed opportunity. This section is in beta testing, which means that it may not feel smooth or convenient just yet. The priority is given to this section where we are coding teacher verbalizations. In other words, if you're coding a classroom and you're wanting to code an ignore, but the teacher's also verbalizing other things, the priority is given to coding the pride skills. If you are able to concurrently code and ignore, you would do so, but note that the praise is going to get double counted. So let's take an example. One student is wiggling in their seat and the teacher ignores that student and instead praises another student. Thank you for staying in your seat. So we're going to count that here as a label praise, but also as a label praise to someone else. If the teacher continues to ignore and pays no attention to the wiggling student, we're going to say yes, the teacher continued the ignore with no attention. And then did the teacher give a label praise to the wiggly student as soon as they were sitting calmly? So let's say the teacher did say, "Oh, thank you for staying in your seat calmly now." We would give a label praise and we provide a check that the teacher did the ignore sequence in full. Again, the priority is to the top section because this is an optional beta testing capture of whether the teacher's ignoring correctly. In your baseline assessment, most of these circles are going to be in the missed opportunity category where the teacher could have ignored a behavior but did not. Lastly, after the 5 minutes of coding is done and you've coded these concurrently, you'll estimate the percent of children that were well behaved. So maybe half of the class was well behaved, or perhaps 60% of the class was well behaved. So that's just an estimate that you would write in after your 5 minutes of coding. Likewise, after your 5 minutes of coding, you might reflect on the skills that may benefit this classroom, such as environmental control or stretch breaks for the students to wiggle around in between work. You could also write additional notes regarding some other skills or strategies that you think could benefit this classroom.